Mhm. So, continuing on, Gongchik. Statement 15 says, the six and lower bodhisattva stages are common for listeners and self-realized Buddhists. Yeah, so here in this section, Kyobpa Rinpoche, the statements that Sherab Jungne put in this particular section of this chapter, and they all pertain to questions that have arisen with regards to, what exactly, like comparatively, what is special and what is special, as well as what is special or distinct about bodhisattvas and the bodhisattva levels of attainments. What is special about that in comparison to the levels of attainments of solitary realizers and hearers or listeners, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhists, Shravaka Buddhists, Pratyeka Buddhists, and what is different. So there are many, differences of opinions and debates back in Kyobpa Rinpoche's time, and then going back even further to India, because there were those, particularly in India, not so much in Tibet at all, particularly in India, in an earlier period, there were different Buddhist groups and traditions who emphasized that, oh no, the bodhisattva way leading to the way of leading to the complete attainment of Buddhahood is impractical and not necessary for majority of us. Majority of us, the most the most intelligent thing to do is to go the way of the Shravaka Buddha, the hearer Buddhas, those who become awake from hearing and practicing and contemplating, and primarily for their own purpose, for their own benefit. And then there are some who, then within that way of thinking, they also say, and some, may go the way of the solitary realizers, the solitary, the Pratyeka Buddhists. And then they say, but as for the example of Siddhartha and what he did, that is so incredibly difficult and amazing, yes, amazing, but so difficult, it is impractical. Don't go that way. But then, of course, those who identify themselves as Mahayana will say, no. Everybody should follow the example of Siddhartha, follow the example of all the past lifetimes of Siddhartha, and aspire for the complete and perfect state of the complete and perfect Buddha state, rather than solitary realizer Buddha or hearer or listener Buddhas. So there are all these various debates. In some of these debates, either they go too far in the direction of belittling, putting down solitary realizers and hearers, or they go too far in emphasizing, oh, actually all three about the same. Nothing so special about Bodhisattva. And so here in these statements is Kyobpa Rinpoche's kind of, insofar that he was interested in these debates, insofar that he found some of these debates to have actual significance and impact on a practitioner's way. Now remember, by the time Kyobpa Rinpoche was addressing these issues, more or less, everyone in Tibet will say, oh, we follow the Bodhisattva way. Barely anyone will walk around saying, no, we follow those other ways. Basically, the background is everybody agrees the Bodhisattva way is the best way. Everybody warns against the mistake or the accident of falling into the limited motivation. So insofar as they will debate on these, what is higher, what is lower, what level corresponds with what level, it's not about like, maybe when we figure out this debate, we will know whether we should aim for hearer listener level, or we should aim for solitary realizer, or we should aim for complete imperfect. They all agree we should aim for complete imperfect Buddhist. Yeah. So that's also part of that background you should understand. So here in this statement 15, when it says, the 6 and lower bodhisattva stages. So this refers to how, according to the bodhisattva training path system, there are 10 stages. Right? Remember I mentioned this. There are 10 stages, or called the 10 bhumis. Literally earth, bhumi. Grounds, the 10 grounds, sometimes translated more literally, the 10 grounds in Chinese, 十地. Then there's also the system of dividing the bodhisattva path into what's known as the 5 paths. The path of accumulation, the path of joining, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, the path of no more learning. But here it's talking about the 10 stages. So here it says the 6th stage. So Kyobpa Rinpoche says, from ground 1 to ground 6, in terms of the wisdom realization, and there's no difference between what bodhisattvas realize and what is realized by the hearers and the solitary realizers, the self-realized Buddhists. So which means at the 7th level and the 8th and the 9th and the 10th, then what bodhisattvas realize would excel what the hearers, listeners, and what the solitary realizers realize in terms of the profundity, how profound their view, their realization is. So first of all, we should say, we should make it clear, do not think, ooh, we are so great, we are so great. We are so far, from these bhumis, in a way. Sorry, bad news. You may think it's bad news, but the way I think it is like, oh, okay, it's a relief in some ways, when I see that I'm caught up, still in this. It's like, of course, I have not reached the first bhumi. When I reach the first bhumi, then I will no longer be so easily distracted. So then we aim for the first bhumi, right? Anyway, so don't think, when we read about these debates, don't fall into the trap of thinking lowly of the hearers and the solitary realizers. And the 6th bodhisattva bhumi is very profound realization. We cannot even really fathom, wrap our head around that level of realization. Only intellectually, of course, we can, and that's what we're doing here. Yeah. So let's see the commentary from Khenpo Kunpal. It is said in the Sutra of the 10 bhumis, the 10 stages, that on the 5th bodhisattva stage, the 4 truths of the noble ones are realized. And on the 6th stage, the 12 links of dependent origination are realized. So this is found in this Mahayana Sutra called the Sutra of the 10 Stages, Dasha Bhumika Sutra. Therefore, the realizations of the 6 and lower bodhisattva stages are held in common by listeners and self-realized Buddhas. But the bodhisattvas are superior in terms of qualities. So here, Khenpo Kunpal makes this point, which Jigten Sumgon would also agree. However, although at the 6th bodhisattva level, in terms of view, right, in terms of wisdom realization, although a bodhisattva in the 6th stage and a solitary realized Buddha, a self-realized Buddha, share the same level of wisdom, the qualities, and what does this mean? The merit accumulation of bodhisattvas do excel that of hearer Buddhas and self-realized Buddhas. And all these qualities arose from the generation of relative bodhicitta. Once relative bodhicitta is present in our minds, our hearts, even giving just a morsel of sugar to an ant produces immense merit. So that is no longer the merit, the qualities that is brought forth, right? Merit is what gives rise to qualities, meaning good qualities that benefit others. So that even a very small act that otherwise seem rather insignificant. So, of course, giving a grain of sugar to an ant is an example often used. But maybe, the example we can use is smiling at someone. Smiling at someone that comes from bodhicitta produces qualities that are way greater than smiling at someone just because, smile. Or worse, we smile because we have some other intentions. Maybe I'll get the attention of that person. Smile. But if it comes from bodhicitta, the qualities that it will produce is immense. So this is what it means here. It is said in the same sutra that although a little prince can outshine a group of ministers with the potency of his name, this is not due to his own intelligence. Now, this is comparing a bodhisattva to a young prince. A young prince can outshine a group of ministers in terms of his name. So the analogy being made here is a bodhisattva, say on stage 2 or stage 1. Yeah. In terms of the qualities, and here the name of the prince, this prince outranks all the great ministers. Even the ministers that are advising the prince's father, the king. But the prince's name, meaning now if it's a bodhisattva, in terms of them having relative bodhicitta, it outshines even a solitary realized Buddha or a hearer Buddha, but not in terms of his own intelligence. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, their wisdom cannot compare to the wisdom, the intelligence of a hearer Buddha a self-realized Buddha. However, when he grows up, he fully surpasses all the activities of the ministers with the power of his intellect. But when he does grow up, so now he's at stage 6 Bodhisattva. Then his wisdom is equal to them, but then his qualities outshines them. Then when he gets to 7, then his wisdom and his qualities totally outshine them. As in this example, the Bodhisattvas also outshine all the listeners and self-realized Buddhas with their great benevolence as soon as they generate the resolve of bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta. But this is not due to an individual intelligence. Now, when they are on the 7th stage, they abide in the knowledge of their own object, and therefore they fully surpass the wisdom. Here it says the activities, but really what it's talking about, they fully surpass the wisdom of the listeners and the self-realized Buddhas. The footnote here says their own object. This is referring to the unfabricated ultimate reality that they realize on the 7th stage. In other sutras too, the examples of the princess, Ashokadatta, and the Kalavinka bird are given. Nagarjuna likewise said, in the great vehicle, non-arising is taught. Others uphold extinction, emptiness. Since extinction and non-arising have the same meaning, you should bear with this. So here the quote is to quote Nagarjuna saying, although in the Mahayana, non-arising or birthless is the vocabulary used, it is no different from in the non-Mahayana system when they talk about nirodha, extinction, means cessation, which is the third noble truth. Then often it's said to be nirvana, to be extinguished. And also emptiness. Emptiness we also find in non-Mahayana sources. So basically Nagarjuna is saying, these are basically different words describing the same. So here, the bigger point, I guess you could say, is insofar as wisdom, of course, the wisdom at the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th surpasses the wisdom of Arhats and Parjeka Buddhas, Shravaka Buddhas and Parjeka Buddhas. I think the bigger point here is pointing more in the direction. It's not really putting down, right? You should not see it as putting down the levels of attainment of the Shravakas and the Parjeka Buddhas, but it's to highlight the kind of unimaginable significance and merit of relative bodhicitta, of giving rise to relative bodhicitta. So Shantideva says, the moment when you have even a moment of genuine giving rise to relative bodhicitta, even if it is very temporary, it feels very temporary, it feels very fragile. He says, but the moment that comes up, you have joined the ranks of the Buddha's family. You have become a crown prince in a system where, boys succeed their father. These days, that's not necessary. Point is, you have become a legitimate heir to this great position. And that changes everything. And so we should reflect on this, not so that we become puffed up in pride, but we should reflect on this, especially when we feel down. There's so many reasons, we will feel down, discouraged, Not just dharma, all kind of worldly distraction makes us like disappointed, makes us feel down, makes us feel, kind of belittled or, neglected or, I mean, oh gosh, you can go try to fix all those things, oh, I need to talk to this person. He made me feel this way, made me feel that way, that. There's no end to, trying to make yourself feel better in all those ways. What about this? How often do you find yourself pulling yourself out of a dark place by remembering, I have generated relative bodhicitta. Even if now that relative bodhicitta, I don't know, I must have misplaced it. I remember putting it in such a safe place, but now I cannot remember where it is. But just remembering that I have it, and you found that thinking of that has pulled you out of, feeling sad, feeling lonely, feeling, people have forgotten me. If you have felt that before, then I will say, now Dharma has entered your heart, Unfortunately, I don't know how else, I don't know how to magically make that your experience. I can tell you that if you make that a goal, you make a determination. This is how I'm going to pull myself out of not feeling comfortable. In the past, we do that by, some of us, drinking, intoxication. We do that by, retail therapy. www.tibetanspirit.com. No, just kidding. We click Amazon. We do this and that, Yes, of course, Of course, in that area, there are more skillful and less skillful ways to pull ourselves out of not feeling good, not feeling appreciated, not feeling noticed, feeling lonely, all of that, all the difficult. They're not equally the same, don't misunderstand. I think you have to choose, So as we move more and more to more skillful, more healthy ways of pulling ourselves out of an emotional place that we don't like, we're not comfortable, aim to do it through recognizing how amazing, how precious, how unimaginable the qualities that come with bodhicitta. You will never lose that, once you have that. Then when everything leaves you, finally, that's the road we all have to walk. When finally everything leaves you, that will never leave you, bodhicitta. It will not be lost. Misplaced, yes, it will not be lost. Then bardo journey becomes no problem. Then no need to even take the upcoming bardo teachings if you really commit yourselves to bodhicitta, really. Which is to say, starting this Saturday, for 4 Saturdays, there are the teachings about the dissolution at the time of death. Very exciting, Oh, but I can tell you, kind of like to maybe lower my business for the next 4 Saturdays. Much more reliable than that kind of information. even that kind of training, if you train, is bodhicitta that you train now. See the qualities of bodhicitta. So statements like this might sound like, some kind of like, debates in the 12th century. What has that got to do with me? I don't even know all these vocabulary. But if you read that in terms of like, what is it really saying? Is it really talking? Is it really interested in debating, at what level, who goes where? Right? It's almost like talking about, at what level, who goes where, like talking about some airport, which gate, which plane will depart. You're like, what has that got to do with me? Right? It's not about that. It's really, what is underlying here is really saying, can you see, you have this wish fulfilling jewel, which is bodhicitta. You already have it, temporarily misplaced. Now go look for it, find it. After you've found it, don't misplace it again. How will you not displace it again? Find a centrally located, spot. Put it there. So that you will use it, So this is the Marie Kondo approach to spirituality. Don't buy more ways of hiding away your things, Put it all out in the open, which means having less things to distract you. Put what gives you joy, she says. Put what gives you joy right where your eyes can see. Then you won't continuously, try to find the missing joy by maybe buying yet another thing, maybe buying yet another thing. And they all don't fit, they will not give you joy. Good. First day of Losar, first day of Chotrul Duchen in Indonesia, Malaysia, first night of Chotrul Duchen. Do something kind, something random. Then connect it with Chotrul Duchen. It becomes multiplied. Specifically, it says giving to the Sangha. Primarily the monastic Sangha. No monastic Sangha within your reach easily. At least the greater Sangha, the more, including lay Sangha. You can give, you can make offerings. In your local Sangha, maybe normally you don't go in person, These 2 weeks, go and just bring a cake or whatever, Offer, and then yourself think, Chotrul Duchen. You can even say to people, then it will inspire them. Oh, it's Chotrul Duchen, it's good to, make offerings.